Good morning, everyone. Start of the week. Time to do our market analysis on this Monday. Let's see what the week has in store for us. And I think it's going to be relatively quiet week with some nice upside potential there. So just quickly scanning the headlines. There's nothing much that has changed in the macroeconomical and geopolitical situation. Still recession looming, if we're not already completely in it. We do have a bit of a bounce on some things. For the rest, nothing really shocking that can impact our trading this week. Pretty much the same for the calendar. Today's Memorial Day in the US, so stock markets are closed. We do have a minor Fed speech. Tuesday, nothing really important. Wednesday, some jobs and producer manufacturing index numbers, but I don't think that will bring anything crazy. Employment figures on Thursday, I also don't think it's a big change. Payrolls and more unemployment on Friday, but I also don't see anything crazy. So on the events and calendar front, I don't think there's much to keep an eye for. Just quickly looking at the chat. Hey Peak, morning. Hey Bravko, welcome back. Good to see you guys again. So this is promising to be a pretty stable, nice week. So let's dive into those charts. And so far the stream is going smoothly with the charts, not like last week. So starting with the DXY, we did get our pullback to 102, what we talked about last week, and we even broke that support level and are now pretty much did a 50% retrace almost to the 101.5-ish. Looking at the levels, we got the 618 retrace around 100.3, 102-ish, and that also has been a pretty markable point here as resistance and here as support where it bounced off from. So testing those levels would definitely not surprise me at all. If we fall through that, then we have this zone of confluence with the 786 and the 886 retraces, which has been a zone in the beginning of March where it was just bouncing in and out from. So far, I think we might bounce from here or we backtest the 618 before bouncing up. I don't really expect it to go much lower than this. 618 still a very common retrace, maybe very small 1 or 2 days action to quickly test these lower waters, but don't really expect that. Also on the trend profit, we do have a count 9 TD sequential, so we're just waiting to see what the momentum will do. We do have the early warning signs here that this could be a potential pivot point. In this case, it should probably be a bottom that are forming here, nicely aligning in the potential reverse zone here. So that is, looking at those exclamation marks here, it pretty much called the top coming. Here it was a local top coming. Here it was a local top. So those exclamation marks here were a local bottom. They're definitely not something to ignore on the charts. They prove to be very effective in showing potential bottoms and tops. Obviously, you never know how many you're gonna get. I'd wait for the momentum to align up, and especially if it lines up with a TD sequential count there in that reverse zone, then you have a very high probability trade. Shifting quickly to correlation between Nasdaq and futures and Bitcoin. Obviously today is a bit weird, markets closed, but futures are already open, and we see that correlation has dropped a bit because Nasdaq has been outperforming Bitcoin, but we might catch up pretty soon, in my opinion. Looking at gold, last week we were at this low 1800s where we identified this bullish harmonic, we identified the market hyper, we saw the later that week we saw the count 8 coming and momentum already crossing up, and we got that price confirmation here also. So respecting the TA pretty well. If we look at retrace levels from the last top to the bottom, I do think that we are just quickly looking, can't really, there we go. We are looking to go to 1920, 1925-ish would be a logical next resistance level. So far, the cup and handle, the last one, has pretty much been invalidated. It went too far down, but still the one on the monthly, weekly chart is still very much valid. But yes, gold is a slow mover, so those charts can take months to years, maybe even to play out. Long-term upside potential for gold still looking really good. We did have a bit of a pullback, but it looks like this level will be very interesting. If we align the local tops, we see that a logical place that the trend line pretty much aligns with the 618, 6.5 retrace, so that's definitely going to be an interesting level. If we're looking for a long and we exceed that local top, you could be having a nice small 2.5% trade on that. And for gold, that's definitely not a bad figure. So gold looking good. Short term, medium term, we have to wait if it will break this trend line and that retrace level. Long term, it's still looking at higher levels for sure. Very interesting level will be again if we hit that 2K magic number here, the previous high, and see if we can test this higher. But that's, I think, only in a few weeks. Coming week to a few weeks, we should be looking to reclaim that 1920, 1925 level. Quickly looking at a weekly perspective, very solid bounce of this support level here. That also was a major support here in November and has played a significant role before as resistance, like in May 20, etc. Oh, decent pullback. If I just clean this up a bit, remove some noise from the charts, there we go. See, on the weekly we have reclaimed the 200-week moving average, so that's a good sign for the 2 days in a row, if you count today and Friday, or sorry, last week, this week and last week. So that's a good sign. We did a pretty good retrace. If we take this wick low to the wick high, you see that we are exactly bouncing from the 618 a few weeks ago, reclaiming that moving average in one go. It's a very nice confluence there. That gives me some confidence that we will get to the 1920, 1922, 1925-ish level here. Also, count 7 on the TD sequential already. So on a weekly scale, we could see that small bounce, test it, and then go to the levels we were seeing in the daily. Very interesting, very tradable gold chart. Bitcoin will get back to in other charts. BTC dominance took another leg up last week. It's been going a bit sideways since, pretty much following the Bitcoin price there. So nice to see that still intact. Interesting will be if we break this previous high from October, the 48%-ish range. Bitcoin is still king. It's not the time to trade alts unless you are looking for short positions. Can we say anything about next targets? Well, next targets are obviously the previous highs to take out. From this level, that's another 3% and 5%-ish up. Interestingly, if we go a bit lower time frame to the 4-hour, this was a bit too long now to be considered a bull flag, but it's still holding this level pretty well. So expectations, short-term alts may go for a small run. We test this 45% level before going back up on the dominance. How far down does that align? Just quickly throwing out a fib here. So yeah, 45.5-ish, 45.4-ish% would be a logical pullback. Also testing this previous little peak here as support level. So bit of a pullback expected on the dominance, short time frame before probably launching back up. Are we in crazy high levels? Definitely not. We're still reclaiming this very long term. If we switch to the weekly, you see we had this triple bottom here on the weekly chart that we identified end of last year, I think. And since then we pretty much been fighting to break this trend line here, which we finally did, making essentially another much higher bottom. If you would have considered this a descending triangle, something like this, this would definitely qualify as a partial decline. With a partial decline up, a partial decline down, squeezing this range much tighter, and then we had a break up. So let it backtest and launch back up. That's what the weekly, the daily, and the 4-hour chart all pretty much imply there. Obviously, for the altcoins, it's not good news. Just quickly looking at ETC to Bitcoin, it did manage to hold this previous support resistance level that has started here, so that's at least a good sign. That's why that aligns with a small rally for ETH to BTC, which we also align with the Bitcoin dominance analysis we did just a few seconds ago. So also this chart points to a small pullback, probably testing these levels. Looking at percentages from the current level, you might see somewhere between 5 to 8%, maybe 9% gain on Ethereum to Bitcoin, and probably some other alts going for a short-term recovery rally. Well positions, Bitfinex, longs pretty much doing nothing, shorts pretty much doing nothing, so no indications there. Total market cap, it held, just like Bitcoin, the very critical 1 to 2 trillion that we identified when we broke out here. I think we talked about it a few weeks ago. It's looking for a relief rally to at least that 1.45, maybe even 1.5 trillion is very likely. But volume has been pretty low, as you can see, over the last weeks. That was the Bitcoin volume, obviously. So that rounds it up. Quickly looking at stock markets today, slightly green I expect, but not too many moves because stock markets are closed, so these are just the pre-market orders that are being processed. I think the S&P is the most... Why is this on government bonds? I didn't want that. There we go, Nasdaq. I think S&P is one of the most interesting ones at the moment. We're on the daily. You see we broke this trend line, but we have yet to reclaim. This point is pretty much resistance at 43,100. That's a major level. Obviously that will give us a bit of air. Would mean 2.4% gains, but really the big test is 4,500, which would mean 7, probably wick up a bit, around 7 to 8% to the upside. This will be the big test for the stock markets to see if we can cross that previous high. Really swing high. These were pretty much small retraces on the way down. You can argue this is also retrace and this is the real level to break here. Then we're talking about that 46.30 level. So some upside potential on the stock markets. We do see the trend profit. We were for a while in oversold territories. It's now starting to curve up. We do have a count 5 on the daily, so at least I think 4 days more green, implying that this would be a nice green week, probably testing out these 45k levels, and we'll have to see what happens there. But looking good. We also have some nice TD sequential counts here. Aggressive 21, the combo 13, aligning also very nicely with, we had this bullish ABCD pattern here. Let's take the drawing tool, make it a bit bigger. We had this bullish pattern and we had reaction rally, confirmation low, and now we jumped over the creek of the trend line and have our proper breakout. So trend line, price action lined up, TD sequential is lining up, trend profit is lining up, so yeah, expect a green week, which also makes sense because now we had, what was it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 red weeks in a row. So having a pullback to the upside with with 1 or 2 green candles would be logical. Quickly looking at the weekly fibs, if we have alignment with that 4500 level, the 43k level is just below the Fibonacci golden pocket here, so that's definitely a target for this week. So stock market looking good. Also with the little news events that could impact. It's definitely looking great. Quickly switching to Bitcoin daily. The Elliott wave, the Demark version of the Elliott wave analysis that we made in the last 2 weeks already, where we are looking for that A target around 38k of the correction wave, then a bit of pullback to probably 32k-ish would make sense, and then hitting that 44k level. I drew 2 parallel channels on this week. This is the first channel that we broke out to, and we might establish a second channel. Very nicely, it aligns with the wave count where we get rejected by the crossing of the channels, the bottom of the top channel, go down but maybe not completely make it, and then test that middle line again. So for the coming weeks, this is where I will be basing my trades on, together with the TD sequentials and the other indicators. So if we break just above this previous little resistance, we'll see that in the other charts. If we manage to break above that resistance, it's definitely time to look for some nice long positions towards 38, 39-ish price action, the middle of those 2 channels here. Are we out of the bear market yet? Probably not, but it is logical after so many downtime, time going down, that we have a bit of relief. When can we say we're really out of the bear market? Well, I think that 48k needs to be broken and held for several days and confirmed as support for 1, 2, 3 times preferably, and having a bounce before we can say, all right, we seem to be crawling out of the bear market. Do I think it's likely to happen in the coming weeks? Probably not. We'll see what happens in this zone. I do think that from now to the summer, to June, July, we will slowly zigzag accumulate up to 38k. Over the summer period, July, August, we probably slump down slowly towards that 32k to 30k again. Really hoping that this channel will be respected, and we'll see after the summer holidays how the world looks then. So a bit of a long-term perspective there. If we look at the sequentials on the weekly, we do have an 8 pointing to some upside potential. It's not a perfect 8, but it's still, the count has not been broken, so that's looking pretty well. We are at the countdown, not close to 13 yet. 3 days, sideways action. Daily, we did have that count, that combo 13, that proved to be a bit sideways so far. Just looking if there's any time frame that gives us a nice advantage somewhere. Also just stuck in these, like all the medium time frames from like daily to 1 hour are pretty much stuck in the sideways chop, where you barely get any counts finishing their cycles. On the 1 hour, we are overextending account 9, but we're still far from any pivotal sell sell counts on the countdown. We do have finally on the 15-minute, we do have some bearish signs that we might get a small pullback here on the 15-minute. Combo 13, aggressive 13. And the setup count for sequential is at 10. So we might also get one of these if we get a bit more upside. So yeah, we have to get through this zone. If we look at the Fibonacci gun channel, we see that this zone that we have been in for what feels like ages and ages. Yeah, peak, that's a nice W indeed. We saw before. This is the green zone that we have been stuck in. I added the support resistance zones where the wicks end up in, and we are trying to break out of this green zone, but we have to conquer this resistance zone above. So hopefully with the stock markets looking to go for a small rally to the upside, it will help us to break out of this zone. While in this zone, I'd be really careful with both longs and shorts. Like I pretty much draw every week. I'm trading small time frame scalps at the moment because I'm waiting for that break, hook back, test as support, and run in either direction for taking some bigger positions. So at the moment, short time frame trading, especially the 15-minute, has been pretty good to me using trend profit and sequentials. Waiting for the definite move. Will we get rejected here at the very critical resistance where we have been pushed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times? We have been pushed down again just to hit that bottom support 1, 2, 3, 4, counting this is 1, 5, 6 times. That bottom support zone pushing us back into the green zone. So we have to be patient, let the trade come to us. If you're trading low time frames, trading within this range has been pretty lucrative, pretty solid also on the counts. Going to those smaller time frames to trade, the 1 hour, we are looking for a bit of a pullback here. We almost got to, we are at a bearish harmonic, it's a butterfly at this time. On the 1 hour we also have the true money flow starting to curve down here. Trend profit momentum is flipping inside a potential reverse zone. We seem to be hitting that yellow resistance line locally. So we have a lot of things lining up here. A bearish harmonic lining up with the count 9 potential reverse zone on trend profit with the momentum flip here. We are in overbought territories on the 1 hour. So I'm looking for a short scalp here, waiting for that price action confirmation here where percentage R crosses its moving averages and turns at least orange, and SSL channel also flipping at least orange or red. I'm not gonna cover this experimental indicator yet. So 1 hour looks a bit downside, 24 minutes. Something crazy number, but very efficient in trading. On market hyper, we do have that unbalanced divergence here, red unbalanced divergence. And true MFI close to crossing its moving average here. We did have some bearish divergence on the wave trend also. Strength index is starting to go down. Promise not to cover it. I did it anyway. Sorry. Trend profit here. We got all the 13s lining up here at the top. Sequential 13, the aggressive 13, combo 13, dropping. I'm using, by the way, indicator from another Pine scripter, Methri. He makes probably the best Demark indicators of TradingView that I didn't even, I'm not even trying to create at this time. Also, these range expansion index from Demark and those Demark version of Elliott Wave, those indicators that I'm using are also from him. I'll drop a link to his Patreon in the description of the video, because if you're interested in Demark indicators, he's the one to take a look at for sure. And I don't say that too often because I'm very critical on my own indicators and also on other indicators. So take that as a compliment, Methri. So very nice on the 24 minutes. Hasn't played out yet. It's looking a bit trianglish here. Let's check it out on the 15 minutes. What I've been trading a lot. Let's flip to that. Money flow crossing its moving average. Also on the 15 minute we got it on balance divergence. We are getting a bit of same wave triggers on market hyper here. Here we see that having to toss these. Price action is already orange and below its moving average, so now I'm waiting for SL channel, that's the line of the moving average, and percentage R to turn red on this time frame. And indeed it does look like a bit of a triangle here. Oh, that should have stayed here. There we go. I think this is a triangle range. We did have, just moving it here, that very nice combo 21, exactly pinpointing that top here. We did go sideways after there. The sequential 21 and aggressive 13 pretty much have been sideways. We need to break this triangle, probably from 30.600-ish or above 37. Very nicely tradable pattern on the 50 minutes to get some nice scalps going. Just looking, we do have the second bearish divergence on this mysterious indicator here, pointing this pretty much already played out because there's a 2 candle delay somewhere between that. So I think symmetrical triangles usually have 50-50 to the upside, but leading trend was upwards, so slightly biased to go to the upside. But if you look at the resistance levels on the higher time frames where we are on the accounts, especially here, I think it's most likely to break down to the downside. But I think it's going to be a weird week where Bitcoin might be allowed by the broader market to do its thing, and its thing might as well be more upside. I think nobody will complain if we do this. So watching the charts, small time frame trading, just waiting for this to break out and for things to align in the chart. Just make nice low time frame scalps. Is pretty much what I've been doing. One more thing to look at is US oil fund. Obviously we've seen US oil, crude oil recovering a bit to the upside, and I need to switch the ticker here to the proper chart. Keep in mind it's closed today, also like the stock market. But if we look at the daily, we did have a nice breakout of this ascending triangle that we have been stuck in since the beginning of March. We broke out. We do have some bearish harmonic, but ABCDs are not the strongest ones. So what hopefully happens is a backtest to that 83k before bouncing up, but it could as well just take off to the upside like it did in this. Why do I think it's going up? Obviously the supply has been a bit limited with the whole Russian export thing, but what has kept the price in this range were also lower demand because of the lockdowns in Shanghai and cities like that, with fears of it spreading. More lockdowns means less oil usage. So with the lockdowns slowly being lifted in China, I think the fear for demand drop is getting less, and with the supply becoming less and less reliable from certain countries, that pretty much gives a good push for crude oil, and also I think for the US oil fund. Targets from previous videos still stand. I am looking for that $100 would be a very logical next target. It's the measured move of this triangle. If we move to a weekly chart, you see also that that 100 level has been support and resistance many times in the past. And if you think that these are crazy prices for this oil fund, well, let's switch to the monthly. And in the 2008 recession, crisis, whatever you want to name it, it has even been above 90.50 briefly, I think. Yeah, 953. So upside potential for this is still massive. Interestingly, we did have a combo 13, but the count just kept going. So the bullish harmonic here perfectly working out so far. So on the weekly chart, that 100 is a very easy first target to reach. If I just paint a horizontal line here, put it on exactly 100, you'll see what I mean with the support and resistance. Here, that whole zone, it was resistance, it broke, it backtested, and it broke back up here. Resistance here, support here. And I think we didn't have any, before that it just been above here. So that's proving to be a very important price level, obviously psychologically too. First target $100, second target 160. That's pretty much on the daily, weekly charts what you are looking at. That makes the most sense. Maybe short stop here at 130, but it has only been, yeah, it was resistance here and support twice here and support there. So 130 could be the in-between stop between 100 and 160. I'm quickly drawing them in for the next MMA that we look at. 130 and 160 are the logical price targets in the coming weeks here. Breaking 130 would be massive, because between 130 and 300 there's not much going on really. Some sideways action here, but it has been not that crazy in peaks and valleys. So yeah, long term very bullish on this one. We did have a really good week last week with the breakout. I did enter a small position around that 83, 84 here, I think. So that's going well. Just waiting for the continuation for the backtest before adding more to that position. Yeah, there's no reversal in sight really. Count 5 also, so this week could be easily green before we get a bit of a pullback. Really, really nice price action there. Alright, I think that pretty much is it for this morning. Monday market analysis will be back next Monday. I'll be doing a trading course episode for the VIP members about TD sequential countdowns, hopefully this week, if you're interested in that. And might squeeze some other streams in between, depending on how the week goes. Thanks for watching, and take care, safe trading, and enjoy a hopefully green week overall in the markets. Take care, and bye bye.